So today I'm touching off like UX UI design overview. So it is just give you like we have a lot of like the people think about that the UX UI is just like a theory part, like we do the wireframe and prototype. That's only the part, but in reality it is a different when we want to transform any digital application. So we need a research, we need to understand the users. So throughout this session I'm going to explain you the each and every aspects, like how we can uh, overall solve any design problem. So it is just like a there is no like the industrial you can say the process, but there are like some known companies or the guidelines where we go through that and follow those process. Okay, so the table of content would be like the definition of the user experience and what is the basically the user interface design. So the facets, you can say the features or elements of the UX and UI. You can say third would be understand how the user centric process works. Okay, and I'll walk you through the basically one case study to understand this user centric process, how we can implement, how you have a problem solve, you have a problem and how you can achieve that. That's we go through with it quickly. Then we'll go with the as a professionally, like how the UX is going very growth wise, and the professionally how you can take it this skill and make a career on here. And then there are last slide which is definitely we are doing for the job opportunity. So if you see that there is a lot of like the job opportunities in respect to UX. Let's move to the next slide, which is basically the definition of the UX in UI. So, in simple terms, like when we talk about the user experience, we have a Don Norman and Jepson Dixon. They are both, or the basically the you can say the core father of this UX. So when they talk about that, let's say you have a any physical device like a iPhone, you like the iPhone because you are getting engaged, you are not taking any much help in that, everything is visible with you and you like it the features. It's just like an example. So the user experience emphasize all the basically the aspects of the end users interaction with the company in service and products. So what I mean that the user experience is you are engaging your users for any particular product. So when I say the product could be anything, your website, your any physical device, but that you in the UX you are engaging. But on the top of that you need to take care about the services of that out of the boxes, like how the customer experience will help in that. So in short, like the user experience is just like your body, like you have a skeleton inside our body. So that is a basically the core part of the UX. So now the second terminology, we can say that the user experience aids in the interaction and experience a user has with the company product and services, which mean the same thing. The moment I start browsing, let's say you have a social media or you have any WhatsApp, like these are, you start engaging with them, you start interacting with them, you get an experience, your job is going to done. Like you want to basically chat with your friend, or you want to make a group for that, you are almost like the interaction or your goals are accomplishing with your software which is there. Now imagine that like as an experience, like we have a digital world these days, like there is no like new thing. You learn a browser and how can close. Initially we used to do that when when we started the career of this, but now it is more advanced, right? So you might be have seen a lot of like the website. So as a human experience, like what you do that it is related to the science and art. So as a psychological mind, that you browse any website, what will happen that you scan you through your eyes, like, and catching, and you just do the vision of that, like from top to bottom or left to right. You see that the website is not giving us, or the application is not giving them that information which is you require or you are looking for that. You immediately turn over or start looking or googling some different applications. So that is the basically the experience. So when you come up with the user experience design, so then you need to understand basically the user behavior, what their needs are there, and then you build up the application and a design accordingly that way. Okay, and this is a reference I'm giving to that. I'm not going in a very theoretical part. Like there are like the good websites also, but if you google it, like you get tons of information. But these are the known authentic yeah, I mean the websites where you can go and search and start reading for that. It's a usability.org. Now this is that was the basically the UX. Now let's come up with the UI. So what we never mix up the things like the UX and UI. Both are a different entity, but definitely the cycle base or the design process base first will come in the UX, and then you come up with the the UI. So the UI is only focusing on the anticipating what user might needs to do, or ensuring that the interface has a certain elements. When I'm saying the certain elements, so definitely we are talking about the components, we are talking about the buttons, we are talking about, let's say you are doing some task or you are filling some form. If it does not give you some error or success message, then that's a problem. Then there is a design problem here. So we need to facilitate those actions so that it will bring up the concept of interaction. So when we say the interactions, so we have a interactions, micro interactions. That is also the separate field. Like you build up the basically you when you design that, you make a basically the interaction uh, through the each and every micro interaction. For example, like let's say you need to log into the Gmail or maybe the Facebook. You first part is like you have a email address and password, and then if you enter your wrong password, then what is going to happen? It is giving you the error. So it is kind of the micro interactions which is keeping you engaged, and until unless you make a successful basically the login to the application. And when we talk about the user interface, we talk about the information architecture also. So when we say the information architecture, it all depends upon your all domains. So your domains may be the banking, or you have a healthcare, you have a education, all different domains. As a designer, you will not focus on that. Your job would be like to solve the problem, but definitely you need to get into the little deeper to understand basically the domain. So when we say the information architecture, it is just like you have to construct or you have to build up the house or a building. So what you're gonna do that you make a blueprint of that, you make a sketch, and then you make a directions of that, like how your building structure would be there. Now similarly like that, now when we talk about the information architecture, definitely there are certain techniques where you engaged with the users and basically come up with that kind of the content which are much easier to user to understand that. So let for example, if I'm making any patient portal or healthcare domain application, so I will use those kind of the terminology which are very easy to any patient or a doctor to understand. That I cannot use any like the hard understand the words which are very difficult to pronounce and which are not used to that, and the person has to basically search that and just see the meaning of that. So in that, like what you are doing, that you are making a content, you are very easy, you are picking up the primary nouns, and then you making a basically the simple structure of that. There are techniques I will come up in the basically in the case study, I will show you like how we can do that. Now let's talk about the facets of the UX and UI. So what we gonna happen then, these are the basically the features. So in holistic way, that when we talk about research, we talk about the accessibility, we talk about the design, all all in means that the you we want to engage our users, like our target users, like in each and every phase. Because when you are taking any like the application to design or develop, so what you are going to do, that you have a business team which is going to be giving you the functional requirement of the use cases, how the application should work, and that is purely with the domain specific. Now when we talk about the research of the UX, so we are basically doing the research for the users, who are the end users, and how we can understand their data, how we can understand basically their pain areas, how they are completion their the task. And then what will happen, these are the basically the techniques. So now let's talk about like the analytic part. Like somebody is very good in analytic part, like they just take it the data and they analytic that. For example, like you have a artificial intelligence, you have a machine learning these days. Now you picked up you analyze that data, so that is the basically the first. And then you have a user research. So when we exactly do the user research, there are a lot of like the user research methods. Through that you are basically doing gathering the data or information from the users to understand their behavior. So we will come up the how many user research are there. There are tons of like uh, user research. In simple term, like the user research, you have a four type of the dimensions. One is a direct data or indirect data, or you have a attitudinal or behavior data. So when we talk about the direct data, that is a basically face to face. We are basically preparing some questions and we are asking the direct users their journey to understand their behavior, their attitude, how they are solving, I mean the day-to-day life, how they are working. So it's all related to the direct data to collect that. So in short, like you are doing the interviews, you are doing the basically contextual inquiry, that those are basically to collect the direct data. Okay. Now there is an indirect data. You might have seen that lot of like when you do any website or you browse any website, you done any task, like they ask you about the feedback, or maybe they ask you for the survey forms. So those are basically the qualitative data. So the qualitative data is indirect data, where you are checking your you want to get it the matrix of that, like how much and how many people are using your application and what is there. Now then you have a basically the ABB testing. ABB testing is in comes in the initial phase, where what you want to do, that you, let's say you came up with the two type of the design, you have a problem there. Now you have a two design solutions. So you want to get just compare with the business, with the users, that which design is a good. So that is a basically the ABB testing. Now then you have a basically this usability issue is there. So usabilities are basically you want to get it the expert review. Like let's say for example, like for example, I should not give it this example, but let's say somebody is ill, and what he does, that he goes to the basically the doctor, local doctor, and get diagnosis, maybe get treatment. If it is not working and if it's a severe thing, like, and then he consult, he go to the higher, I mean the specialist to basically understand what is the basically the review for that. So in order to get the reduce the usability issues, or who are your in the managers, like you have a expertise like in your industry or you in your the working environment. Then you take their the feedback for that, just like a review part. You have a testing which is a usability testing. So usability testing is nothing that once you do the prototyping or you do the wireframing, you are basically checking with the actual user. I'm going to show you that slide, like what are the basically the outcome of that usability testing for that. Now, as I said, that there is a basically this a contextual inquiry, which is a basically you are observing your a user based on the context. Like what is the context? If you are giving them this the goal, you are basically absorbing them and just understanding the basically their needs and day-to-day life for that way. Now, as we know that this is an accessibility part. Now, when we say the accessibility, and this is very important and this is very much coming up in these days, remember always, like whenever you are giving some solutions, so the beauty of part design is that you are taking care of each and every users. You don't want to be a bias. You need to be, that is called the ethical of design, ethics, design ethics. So whenever you come up with any solution, you never say that, yeah, I know that these people are used to this feature, they let's add it that feature, let's add it this component. Because for us as a designer, for us like the designer, our users are alien to us. We never make the assumptions. That's why we study them, we understand their pain areas through the research, and then come up with the data. Now when we say the accessibility, there are basically the some disabled people, or so what they do, that they basically make this you have to understand that and come up with the design solution for the accessibility part also. Okay. Then you have a basically the design. So when we say the design, so you, as I said, in the slides, like there's a information architecture, there's a visual design, there's a interaction, there's a industrial design, which is a product related, and then you have a user acceptance design and information design. So it's all related to design, where you come up with the solution and just you are coming with the, let's say, beautification of that product, and then how you can visualize visually, you can add more values and then and give it better solution for the users to go ahead with that. And this is a URL which I have taken the that you guys can see this. And there are n number of, like, there's so much information you can go through that, but this is, I just want to give the overview about the insights of the UX and UI. Okay. I hope you guys have questions. So as Shruti pointed out, you can put it on the chat box, and later when we start the questioning session, so Q&A session, so we will definitely go back to that slide and I will explain that if you have a question. So now this is very important part, where we as an industry, initially now it is very growing, it's just like very competitive thing is there. Now let's say you need to build up any product or any design or any application. So it is better as an organization, as a business, as a, you need to basically strategize this. Okay. Okay. So we need to strategize our application. So when we say the strategy is the content strategy, you have a UX strategy, you have a product strategy, design strategy, brand, competitive analysis, you have an experience strategy. So let's focus upon the few of them. Like, so as I said that in the information architecture, the content strategy is very important, where the content writer will come up and the application, if you are giving any content like the title, you are giving some dialog boxes, you want to alert somebody, or you want someone to take an action, so definitely your content should be well defined so that the user will not get confused. So all we mean that there are like psychological human interaction factors here, where you think about that kind of the users, where their decision making should get low. Okay, they should not think about like whether should I click this, that, or should I do that. Your design should be that enough, that much enough that user has doesn't have to make a thinking about too much. So that's why we need to have a good content here. Now when we say that UX strategy, there are so many elements where you understand the basically the indentation about the business, who are the users, what are the technology environment. I'll show you the sample of like how we can do the table of the initial the UX design. So the branding is very important. Let's say you have a Google, and you have, you know, that Microsoft, you have a the Apple, they have their, if you look at any app product there, or you go to website or any application or any product, you recognize basically this is an Apple product. So that's why the brand is there. So brand has their own like the workflow. There is an own like you need to work on that, like to come up with the brand solution for that. Okay, so when we say that the service design, designs are, it's a new field which is coming up on the top of that, like where you say that decision architecture. When you come up with any architecture, you want to make a decision that this is a correct or not. You have an experience design, and then you have a customer experience design. For example, let's say in any, like you are using the Uber, you are using Zomato or the Swiggy or Mantra or Amazon, any application. But one is like you are engaging with the product, like you are searching, you want to you want to buy some product. That is a basically you are engaging. But once you are done the order, so what is the basically the service they are providing you? They are basically giving you the status in all time, like what time your delivery will be, product will be get delivered, and how I mean, who is going to be contact you. That is the basically the services. Now if in the services level, like if we miss anything, definitely there will be a replication for that. The customer will not come back to you if we face a bad experience, customer experience for that. So that has a different parameters, that has a different thinking about that way, that how we can improvise the customer experience. So as you all knows that this is a development. Once we do the basically the prototype, the wireframe or the prototype, and then we come up with the, then we hand over to the engineering team. They do the front end development, and then it goes to the testing team where they do the quality insurance. All right, so let's go to the main cycle here. When we say this human centric design, this is nothing, it's just like a user centric design. When I mean that, what I mean that the user centric design, in any, like if I am as a UX designer, if I am as a the UX guy or analytic guy, or you can say the you have a design team. So the design team will do what, like this is a high level basically the phases, like you go here. All I mean that you have a first the strategy, you will emphasize, define, ideation, prototype, testing, and UI. This is not like the wizard kind of stuff. It can go back and forth also. Okay, so the issue, the point here is that in each and every phase you are going to be engage your user. Until unless you don't do these activities, your design will not be like up to the mark, and it will impact your user experience. When I say the user experience, it means that your end user will gonna struggle that. that's a reason you might have seen that a lot of people say that I'm very good in design. So when I say that, okay boss, why you have used the black color or any color you have used in the application, they don't have an answer for that. So it means that you have a strategy plan, you have a emphasize where you do the research, and then you have a definition, you do the ideation. Here we will go each and every slide, like how we can do that, we can achieve that. So when we do the test prototype, you come up with the basically testing. When I say the testing, the testings are the users. Okay, so they are the users. You basically do the testing. If you feel that some issue is there, your users are not happy, they are not properly navigating that, then you go back to your design and just start redesigning that, or adding more feature, or simplifying your design, and then you do the again the prototyping and testing. So it is just like that. And all I mean that this user centric design should be your in whole applicate, I mean in the process, it should be the centralized the UX should be the centralized in your organization or wherever we work. Like it should be the centralized, so that if any basically the problems comes or anything comes up, we have a central team which will work and then come up with your design solution. I cannot say that if I have designed that anything, let's say I skipped some interaction or some design, then if I give it to the developer, the developer has to do the coding. So when they do the coding, that they may see that some interaction are missing or some scenarios are missing. So what they are going to do, that they are going to make their own assumption and start coding that, and then it's your flop, a bad design, because it is going to be developed. When it when it goes to the end users, like it is going to be impact. So it is making sure as a design team, we basically cover as much as we can cover with the design, and come up with the final design and do the testing research and all, and then give it to the final uh, design to the our engineering team. All right, so this, when I say the UI specification, what will happen, that all the artifacts what you have in the design, like your icons, your branding, the visualization, you have a titles, you have all the patterns, those should be the basically there in your specification. These days we have a tool where you can get it all the measurements, but it is always a best practice you create your style guide or a pattern library where you mention all the specification and hand over to a developer, and so that they can easily develop that without any dependency.